What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the 182 News Podcast. This is your host, Poppin' Curbs, and I really appreciate you making me a part of your day. So, where did we leave off? We had just finished part 2 of my conversation with Christopher Holmes. So, Chris was the engineer for the Plus 44 album. Amazing insight on that. That's one of my favorite albums of all time. We also went on in part 2 to discuss neighborhoods, dogs eating dogs, just fascinating insights. So, if you did not hear those, definitely go back and check those out. It's super, super awesome. Incredible stuff. I really hope you enjoyed it. It's just fascinating for me. And I assume if you're a Blink fan listening to a Blink podcast, you probably might find some of it interesting as well. Today's episode is really fucking cool. I have a huge interview, long conversation with Dylan Anderson. So Dylan is the current brand manager for Hi, My Name is Mark, childhood friend of Tom and Mark. He's known them for such a long time. So we have an awesome conversation about, what was Tom like in middle school? The first time he met Mark, he was site manager for the Loserkids site. So we kind of discuss, what was it like when your friends are just blowing up? It's super cool. He was there for all of that. We talk about Atticus. He was the one who came up with that, launched it, designed it. I know a lot of people are still kind of looking for Atticus clothing or wondering what happened to it, and we get into that. We touch base on Macbeth, which was kind of Tom's baby, his brand. And then, of course, we get into Hi, My Name is Mark, which honestly is my favorite brand in the world. I wear Hi, My Name is Mark almost every day. A lot of people see me and they're like, what's the octopus? What's the octopus? I'm like, it's my favorite band. The bass player has this brand, and it's basically just the same octopus on everything. But no, I love it. I actually have a Hi, My Name is Mark octopus tattoo on my rib cage. I love it that much. So it was super cool to have this conversation with Dylan. He was just super rad, shared some cool stuff. We touched base on the creative process of that. We touched base on the bass pins, that process. I know those are kind of a hot collector's item right now, so it was really cool to kind of hear how those get made, stuff like that. So I really hope you enjoy it. Dylan has been sending me some pictures that he's kind of pulling out of his collection, never before seen stuff. I'm going to be posting those throughout the week on the Blink-182 Online social media accounts. So keep an eye out for those. It's super cool of Dylan to take time to kind of dig through his piles to pull out cool shit for us fans to see that we've never seen before. So I really hope you enjoy it. Traditionally, I have split these longer interviews into 2 episodes. On this one, I'm gonna play the full thing. I'm gonna give it all to you, and we're gonna see how it goes. This is gonna be an hour-and-a-half conversation, but since I'm kind of putting these out every 2 weeks, I figure everybody has time. Even if you got to pause it and come back to it, it should be all right. So let me know if you prefer this method or how that works out. Not too much in the news that I feel like I need to get into. Let's touch base on the shows this summer. So obviously, given the situation of the world, even though, in my town or city or whatever, the regulations are kind of easing. We're supposed to be going through these multiple phases of slowly, I guess, starting to get back to the new normal at least. And I don't know that that's going to apply to concerts, unfortunately. Blink had a show July 12th, Incarceration, that is now kind of canceled, postponed. They had a couple shows in Canada that are now rescheduled to 2021. And even though it fucking sucks, because for one, we should be getting a Blink show here in like the next 2 weeks. So I'm just so looking forward to hearing them live again, seeing new videos come out. I'm really hoping to hear some of these new songs from Nine live. Mark said he wanted to play Pin the Grenade, First Time, No Heart to Speak Of. I cannot wait to fucking hear those live. Those songs were just so killer. First Time, I mean, for one, I still keep a CD in my CD player in my car. My car still has that. I'm still banging Nine. I mean, that album is just so fucking good. I've got it on my Apple Watch when I run. I'm still listening to Nine. And First Time, not even kidding, it's probably in my top 10 Blink songs of all time. I mean, that song is just such a fucking banger. So I cannot wait to hear some of these songs live. But honestly, it sucks, but I don't know that these large concerts are going to happen really throughout the rest of the year. Alkaline Trio canceled their tour with Bad Religion, unfortunately. These festivals are shutting down. I saw Rage Against the Machine canceled theirs. And as much as it sucks, it's probably the right thing to do. I mean, it's just too risky to have 20, 40,000 people. I mean, any large gathering really, it's just too risky, and there's lives at risk. And even if they don't resume concerts until next year, I mean, that's just what we're going to have to do, unfortunately. So we're going to have to wait and see how that goes. I actually spoke with a concert promoter last week, totally different genre. It wasn't Blink or punk rock or any bands on these tours, but he was saying for his clients, they are basically optimistic that they might be able to play some shows this year, but at the most they're thinking there will be a capacity of, say, like a 500 person max. So if live music and gatherings of this sort return, it's gonna be limited, the amount of people. So I don't know if we're gonna see Blink. They play pretty big shows. I'm all for a small room Blink show, but I just don't know if that's gonna happen or not. So I don't know. The good thing about these bands officially coming out and canceling it is it allows everybody to get a refund on their tickets. If it's kind of stuck in an indefinite postponement or whatever, some of these promoters and companies can hold on to your money, which sucks. So at least it's good that they kind of come out and say, look, we're canceling it until we can figure this shit out, because honestly, it might be a while. So, yeah, as much as I hate to say that, it sucks, but we're just going to have to see how it goes. So I'm not sure when the first Blink show is going to be, to be honest. I think there's only 2 left on the books. And again, I would be shocked if these happen. There's just no way, in my opinion. I did want to point out the Blink-182 merch website had a huge sale kickoff the other day. They brought out kind of some cool old stickers, even stuff from California, marked everything way down. And the part that I love about this is all the proceeds were going to Children's Hospital of LA, as well as Frontline Foods. So once again, Blink-182 and the folks around them, their merch team, the people around them are giving back to a great cause. And I just love that. To me, it's just so cool. If you've listened to the pod, I'm all about giving back. I give a ton of my time to local charities and just helping in any way I can. And, if you're able to make a difference, I feel like it's kind of your responsibility to do so, who aren't as privileged or who are in need. And so it's just, one of the many reasons why I love Blink-182. They pretty much always try to give back if they can. And it was just really cool to see them do this and kind of, slash the prices way down, bring out some cool stuff. So of course I spent way too much money on that, but that's all right. It's all going towards a good cause. Okay, so really, as far as the news goes, that's all I really needed to touch base on. So again, this is going to be a longer episode, a longer conversation. I really hope you enjoy it. This is with Dylan Anderson, who is the current brand manager for Hi, My Name is Mark. Longtime friend of Mark and Tom. The folks at Hi, My Name is Mark, including Dylan, were cool enough to hook us up with a promo code. So for the month of May, you can get 15% off your entire order. It's a one-time use code. Type in 182news for the promo code at Hi, My Name is Mark to get 15% off your order. Really cool of them to offer that. I don't get anything out of this. It's just, again, if I can do something cool for Blink fans, for the Blink community, I'm going to try to do it. So that's cool. I buy a ton of shit on there. I'm going to use it myself probably. So again, 182news will get you 15% off at Hi, My Name is Mark for the month of May, which is really cool. It's funny, obviously the podcast is called 182 News, but I find myself saying 182 News, which is actually how I know Australians usually say Blink 182. I think overseas, a lot of people may call it 182, so it's kind of weird that I find myself saying that, even though it's 182 News. So anyways, that's enough of me. Let's jump into my conversation with Dylan Anderson. Really hope you enjoy this. Fascinating stuff, tons of cool insight, and here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now joining us on the 182 News podcast. He's the brand manager for Hi, My Name is Mark, my favorite brand in the entire world, Dylan Anderson. Nice of you to join us. Appreciate it. How are you?
Good. How are you, Ryan?
Doing just fine. Trying to stay sane in quarantine. Wife's working at home. I'm working at home. Daycare's closed, but can't complain too much. We're at least able to work, and so can't complain. I want to thank you for joining us. I know the listeners and myself really appreciate it. I'm sure you've got tons of cool stories, tons of cool insights. So I want to start. You have known Mark and Tom longer than damn near everybody on the planet. So give us an idea of kind of your upbringing, where you're from, essentially leading us up into how you first met Tom and Mark.
Okay. So I grew up in San Diego, and it was in middle school that I met Tom, and that was through skateboarding. So we had our little clique of, group that skated, and Tom was younger than us. So, he was kind of like, we let him tag along kind of thing. Because he was always funny. So it was always good to have him along. And so we would skate, and this would have been, I think I would have been 13, and Tom would have been 12.
Wow.
And from there, we would skate all the time. And then I got a job at a retirement community for older people. And they had like a restaurant downstairs where they could come down and order like they would in a real restaurant, but it was all just basically like a really fancy cafeteria. And you had to dress up like a waiter and everything. And so I was working there, and I got Tom a job there. So Tom and I worked at this, it was in Rancho Bernardo. It was the Remington Club retirement home. And we would just screw around so much there. Like that was like some of the best times. You'd have to deliver food up to their rooms sometimes. And basically you just go pick up the phone and then pretend you got a call and be like, okay, so-and-so just ordered a steak and whatever you really wanted to eat. And then you just send in the ticket, and then you need to go with somebody. And so like Tom and I would go and deliver these fake meals and then just eat them as fast as we could. So we'd go from like skating straight to work. And then I remember it was like there was like this lobby area, and we would jump from the second story down to the lobby onto their couch.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, just like that. But like we worked all the time. So it was just so many stories of like screwing around, messing with meals. I remember we would you'd serve like hot bread at the table and they sat down, and it was folded in like a napkin, like like a fancy restaurant. And I remember Tom figured out how to reverse fold it so when you go to open it, it didn't open into the like bread. It was like another layer, and these poor old people would like, I can't figure it out. It's in there. And then we would just be laughing, which now seems kind of cruel, but at the time being, just newly teenagers, it was just the best. So we worked there for like a while, and I think I ended up moving to Utah in the middle of high school. And it was when I was up there that I think Ann Hoppus had moved to like San Diego, and she had started at our high school, and so she became friends with our little group of skateboarders and stuff. And she started dating one of our friends, and then she had mentioned like, oh, my brother would love you guys, like he's into the same music and stuff. And then that's how like you got Tom and you got Mark into the same like little social circle. And yeah, that was kind of the beginnings of everything. And I can remember early shows. I would come back to San Diego for like the summers and stay with friends. And I can remember like seeing them play in a garage or going to band practice all the time. And our other friends had a band called the Iconoclasts. Mm-hmm. They played early shows with Blink. And yeah, like that's how it all kind of started in, the very beginning of the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, the story always goes that Mark had moved back, and then, like you said, Ann's boyfriend was friends with Tom, and Tom was looking to start a band, and Mark played bass. He needed a bass player, and then they magically got together. And the story goes that the first time they jammed, Tom had a guitar part, Mark had a bass part, and they fit together perfectly as what became Carousel. Is that accurate, by the way? Do you know anything about that, or do you recall any of their first
No,
jam sessions or anything like that?
I wasn't around for any of like I think the early stuff because I never played an instrument. I wasn't like at all musically inclined. So if they were practice, I probably went skating because that's where I wanted to be, to be.
Do you recall their first kind of official show, or when was the first show you remember seeing them?
I remember some early like again like there was a couple garage shows that like I remember I think a house party that they might have played at, and then it was just Soma stuff where you'd have to say who you wanted to see when you went to the show, and that's how I think his name was Len, like could run Soma.
Hmm.
He'd be able to gauge how popular a band was. If, everyone, if even if you were the opening band, if you had more people coming to see you, he kept your eye on that.
Yeah.
So it was Blink was playing, all of us would have to go, support the guys, and you get more names on the list, and that would help them get better slots and better, shows.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out from a timeline perspective Blink's very first show. So I think Tom, he credits it actually, the anniversary was not too long ago. I think it was April 7th, 1993 at Soma. He says is the first Blink show, but they've also said that they played in bars, and maybe these are also some of the garages that you're talking about or house parties. Those may count as well. But I guess maybe Soma was the first official Blink show in Tom's mind, at least. Does that sound about right?
It could be. I mean, they could be considering a show that at a venue being the first show. As the other ones, I think there was like maybe a VA show or something like one of those kind of
Yeah.
like kind of put together shows like that. But Soma was like in San Diego. Like that's if you had a band, you got to play Soma. You were a legit band at that point, even if you were playing the small side stages.
Yeah. So were you still in Utah just visiting at this time, or did you move back at this point? Kind of
I
93, 94?
I was in Utah. Like I'd moved to Utah in 90, but I would go back almost every summer. I would be in San Diego. Um, and then when the band started getting bigger and they would tour, they'd come through Utah, and then I'd hang out with them there. And again, in summers I'd go back. Tom was living with my friend Brian, and I would stay with them during the summer. That's like Tom was still working at concrete, and we'd wait for Tom to get home, and he'd be so tired, and we would be bouncing off the walls like I wasn't working, and we'd want to go skate or just go do something, and he's
Yeah.
like, oh, I hand lifted 2 tons of cement piping because the lift wasn't working that day.
Oh my gosh.
And then Mark worked at I think back then he worked at a record store, a video store. And I remember going to like see him and, visit him and cause a ruckus while he was working. So
Yeah, I think that's where he said he would put out the original Dude Ranch, or not Dude Ranch, Buddha tapes, and kind of sling them from there or drop them off all over town around there when he was working that job. Um, I can see them just being, I mean, they have so much energy just in the late 90s. I can't imagine how much energy they had in 93, 94, younger
yeah.
days. I couldn't imagine middle school Tom. Like that would be fucking crazy to me. But did you, I mean, were they super, super set on just making it with the band and just kind of promoting that? Like, did they constantly bring you their tapes or make you listen to their new music or anything like that?
Um, Again, like since I was a little bit out of the picture being in Utah, like I got like Buddha. I don't think I ever got Fly Swatter. I might have just had like a copy of a copy,
Hmm.
rather than wasting one that they could sell, kind of thing. Um, but I remember having a Buddha tape, and I was friends with a booking agent in Utah, Stormy Shepherd. And I think she may still book shows and stuff, but she was the person in Utah. She booked all the shows and punk shows, really. I think she worked for like The Offspring. for a long time as well. But I remember giving her the tape, like, oh, this is my friend's band. And she was just like, oh, that's neat and stuff. And she never listened to it. And then years later, she was just like, that's one of my big regrets, is that I didn't really listen to that, that tape at that time.
Yeah. Did you have any idea, I mean, at that time that they would get anywhere, or was this just like a side hobby to them, or how did you feel about it?
I don't know. Again, like, I wasn't so musically inclined. It was just fun. It was just like, I went skating, and then when I moved to Utah, like I was really into snowboarding. So I just kind of felt that it was like that, like that's their version of, trying to get sponsored, trying to like move up the ladder of, what to do next.
Yeah.
But I remember they got on the Warped Tour, like I think it was the first or second Warped Tour, and that came through Utah, and that seemed like a big deal, like seeing them on stage. So I mean, they played, real early in the day and stuff, but they had a good crowd, and it seemed like things were starting to like take off back then. That would be like 93 or so. I'm not sure when the first Warped Tours were.
Yeah, so Cheshire comes out in 95, so they had a decent following in SoCal, and then ended up having a decent following in Australia, I know, with the Warped Tour over there. And then, Damn It comes out, Dude Ranch starts coming out in 97, 98ish. They were gaining some notoriety kind of with the music video and with the Damn It single. So do you recall the first time they came through, I guess, to Utah, and you got invited, and it was like, wow, the crowd is feeling them. These are my friends. They're rocking out. They might make it.
Yeah, there was a couple shows that I think they weren't headlining, but they were like main support, and that would have been like NoFX or Pennywise, like those tours, and put me on the guest list and go, and it was like a big deal. It's like how did it was and how like big of a show it was. And then I remember there was like Snowcore came through, and they were on that. I think I have that on video. Like I recorded one of their shows back then. I think it was the Snowcore one. So I've got all that on like a high 8 tape, and I think that would have been with Scott on drums still, I think.
Yeah, Snowcore was in 98. That's another thing we're trying to track down on the timeline, is exactly when Travis's first show was. So somebody had said a couple years ago that Scott had to be filled in for around February of 98. I know by like May 20th-ish, Travis was full-time on drums. So it was somewhere in between there. We're trying to track down the exact date. It'd be interesting to see what concert footage you have and what day that was. By the way, Scott, nobody ever really talks about Scott, and I think he probably likes it that way, but how was Scott? Did you ever talk to him? He seemed just so quiet.
It was always quiet. His sister was in my grade, and so she was like a cheerleader. So she was like, it was like I knew Scott just because he had a kind of a hot older sister kind of thing. So I didn't even know he played drums, but I knew his sister. And then Tom's ex-wife, Jen, she was also in our grade as well. So she went to Poway High.
Oh, wow.
So I knew her in high school as well.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. I don't know if I have any like Scott stories, because he was quite quiet most of the time.
And he was quite a bit younger. How much, I could look it up, but how much younger was he than Tom? 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, that sounds maybe right. Maybe just a grade is how I kind of remember it. So it's like if Tom was a year below me, then Scott might have been two grades below.
Yeah. So the band obviously blows up in 1999. Enema, the state drops. It seems like everything they had been working for came to fruition. Dreams come true. So, one, how did that affect you? Were you still in Utah at the time? Were you still just catching them when they were coming through town? Because I know I want to get to basically the Loserkids website. I know you were site manager of that. So lead us up through kind of what 99 was like. It seemed like a wild ride.
The 99, I was managing a snowboard shop in Salt Lake City called BC Surf and Sport. And they had the idea of doing an online store. And I think it was, Mark had originally wanted to call like Mark's House of Shit or something. It was something like that, like something that you couldn't really call it that. And then they ended up on Loserkids as the name. But they would be calling me every few days or so and asking like, how do we place orders? What brands should we carry? How do we go to a trade show? And at that point, for me, I was a sponsored snowboarder, but that summer or fall, I can't remember, I tore everything in my ankle skateboarding.
Oh.
And that was like the doctors kind of say, like, you'd be better off if you just broke your leg.
Yep.
You would have healed faster. So that kind of put kind of closed that chapter of continuing down that road of being like a sponsored snowboarder. They just hurt too much to be strapped into a binding with a boot, because then all your rotation is on your ankle.
Yeah.
So I was actually looking for like, well, what am I going to do? And I had used what money I had saved and bought a computer and had taught myself how to do Photoshop and Illustrator. And so they were calling and asking me to help them set up the store. I was kind of like in the flux of what I wanted to do. And so then they asked, like, well, why don't you just move back and then run it full time?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was in 99. So I moved back to San Diego. I moved in with Mark. And he had a place in like Rancho Bernardo, Poway. And so just started running it from there, like getting it all set up and just ran it from his house. Like I just had we had a little office there and work from home, basically.
Yeah.
What I do still now.
Yeah.
Anyway, got it going, Loserkids, and that was through a company. We had a third party helping us with like logistics and stuff, but it was just my day to day to order stuff, track sales, shoot photos, try and see how we can get marketing through the band, through like tours and stuff.
Yeah. And how did you become that guy for them? Because you were kind of out of the loop, it seemed, in Utah. So how did was it just because you were the only friend with a computer at that time, or that skill set?
Well, that skill set comes in later for Atticus. But running a shop, like a physical shop, is what they wanted to do online. So that's where I came in and knew how to go to the trade shows and place orders. I already had connections with most skateboard companies and clothing brands and stuff. So it was an easy call to be like, oh, I'm working here, but you're still talking to the same people, at Hurley, or I guess it would have been Billabong maybe still at that point. So
yeah. One of the cool things, I had Mr. T-shirt on several episodes ago, and one of the neat things, I just found it so fascinating. His favorite piece of Blink memorabilia is a little Loserkids kind of ad that came in Enema of the State. And the reason being, he said, is the P.O. box on that little flyer. And I don't know if you designed that flyer or maybe he did or the third party. But the P.O. box on that flyer, he said, went to a P.O. box that his grandma and mom would go pick those orders from, which is just so cool. So were you working hand in hand with Mr. T-shirt at that point, or, Loserkids was essentially the Blink merch site, correct?
Yeah. So we sold some Blink merch, but we weren't, it was trying to be on its own outside of that. Like they were always really good about trying to start up companies and brands to kind of balance out, like, if the band goes through a slump or something, maybe this still keeps going and it has like a revenue channel outside of music.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Didn't work with Chris much back then. Was friendly with him, would talk to him. Like anytime you saw Chris, it would end up being like a 2-hour conversation.
Yeah.
Because you could talk about music, you could talk about art, you can talk about anything with Chris. And so
yeah.
I'm trying to think. Where were we with this? I lost track.
Well, so what's interesting to me is, so Blink merch, Blink's blown up. They're huge, 99 all over the place. Blink merch is like Chris was saying that they were outselling huge bands, even in 97, 98 with just the merch. So at what point do they decide we need to make something different, kind of as you alluded to a minute ago, in case the band has a downtime or whatever, that we can kind of keep making money, I guess, or have a presence elsewhere. At what point did they decide that? Who decides that? Was that Mark or Tom saying, look, we need our own clothing line, essentially leading us up into Atticus in 2001?
I think a lot of those conversations were Mark and Tom on the bus, and then like either calling me or when the tour would come back through San Diego, like, hey, we had this idea kind of thing. So I remember them wanting to do their own clothing brand. They'd been wearing Hurley for a while. And they could see what they were doing. We could see through Loserkids what kind of sales numbers we were doing with Hurley.
Yeah.
And like, we could be doing this and it could be all, profit-wise, be all under our own umbrella, being the seller and the manufacturer of it. So we had a few kind of like, what should we call it? What would it be? And I had always liked the name Atticus from To Kill a Mockingbird. And so I had pitched the Atticus name, and then the bird was basically kind of from To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, cool.
That's where that kind of little, dead bird logo. And the dead bird logo, I really liked the idea. It was still a time where you were either punk or you were preppy kind of thing. And I liked the idea of a polo with the dead bird on it.
Yeah.
It was like the punk rock version of like having to dress up nice.
Totally.
And I think that we went through a couple different ideas for the logo. I remember Bob Hurley. We would run things by him. He didn't like the bird. We had a design called the double cross, which was the two T's in the Atticus were like a shadow, and you had the two basically upside down crosses, even though that's not really what we had in mind. But just the shadow. For some reason, he thought that was a good logo. And I never understood how that could translate.
Were you doing all the designs on this initially? Like, did you create the main bird and that one you were just talking about?
Yeah, so I did all the designs for the first few rounds. I think it was a couple years before we brought in someone else to help. So I was doing all the designs and then running production too. So, wow. And then that's the screen printing, so it was quite easy to do. And again, if I had a question about something, I could ask Chris. So yeah, I'm trying to think of any like early Atticus stories I might have.
So was it very much originally kind of like you three, you, Tom, Mark saying let's make a brand, or I've always known that you guys were 1/3 owners, but I didn't know if it was like your dream, your idea, and then they just kind of bought in, or to back you, or how that worked.
They had the other owner was John Humphrey. They knew him from, I think he worked with Rick DeVoe, and John was over at Planet Earth and Audio. He was like the main guy over there. So when they were talking about like, doing a company, he was kind of helping them, like how they bounced things off me when I was running a shop. They would bounce ideas off him. He was running, a clothing brand at the time. They brought John in, so it was basically the four of us.
Okay.
Doing Atticus. I was still doing Loserkids and Atticus at the same time for a while. So kind of like, keeping busy doing, two roles.
Yeah.
And I think it was in later in 2001 or 2002 where I think I switched to Atticus full time. And someone else came in and kind of took over doing Loserkids for a while.
Gotcha. How involved were Mark and Tom in Atticus? I mean, was it you guys bouncing ideas off each other? Did they give you free reign? Did they just wear the designs they liked, or how was it?
Very involved. Like it was, I would come up with a bunch of designs and then just print them out, and we'd lay them on the ground, and Mark and Tom would pick their favorites, and we'd write like, initials of theirs on which designs. And then we would just see like, all right, clearly this one's got all three initials on it. This is a winner. And then, there was no point making a shirt that they didn't like because they weren't going to wear it. So they were always super involved with that. And they would always pitch ideas of things they wanted to do, or different designs, ideas, or, something they saw and they wanted to do. There was one company we did before Atticus and this was Tom's idea. It was nail polish for men, and it's called
Wow.
Orbit. And he knew someone that could do nail polish, so they made up a bunch of it. And we had these little jars of nail polish with like the Orbit logo that we had done on it, which looks a little bit like the To the Stars logo. I think we sent it to our warehouse and then realized, like, I don't know if it's still this way, but to ship nail polish, you need like a hazardous material certificate or something like that.
Oh, gosh.
It's because it is flammable, I guess, or there's something about nail polish where you weren't really allowed to just ship it on its own. And so we were like, oh, like, none of us knew that. And we basically gone so far down this road to have actually had a pallet of nail polish, and then we couldn't sell it. And it just sat there. I don't even know what happened to it to this day. Like, it might still be in some warehouse somewhere.
So he was dead serious on this. This was nail polish for men.
Yeah.
What was different about it compared to women?
It just hadn't been done yet. It was just something, nail polish was always like, he was doing his nails black, or a few of them black.
Yeah.
And this was like a market that,
okay,
hadn't been tapped yet.
That's so interesting. I just wonder if he like hated the smell, or if it was a pain in the ass to get off and the men's version was easier or something. That's funny. What year was that, by the way? That's some great trivia. Okay, was that before Enema? No.
Around that same time, because I remember what house I was with Mark's house in Rancho Bernardo still for that one. That would have been like 99, 2000, somewhere right in there.
Okay. By the way, speaking of 99, 2000, when they're blowing up, did that change anything as far as your relationship with them, or were they just the same dudes you've always known?
They were always the same. They'd both just bought houses, and that seemed like such a crazy thing.
Yeah.
That they had a house. But otherwise, it didn't seem any different. Because, I was, just living with Mark in a house. Like, it was just like roommates that, when you're, at that age. So.
Are there any crazy stories of like, you guys are out to eat and fans just bombard your table, or stalkers, or somebody, outside your guys' house or whatever?
No, it hadn't. It wasn't really, the internet wasn't as prevalent back then, so you couldn't really track down someone. Either you knew or you didn't know where they lived.
Yeah. That's
more problems, I think, with people trying to stalk, like finding out where he lived and trying to visit or leave stuff for him. I remember they had this one lady stalker for a while. Like, she was like good 10, 15 years older than us.
Wow.
And she, for whatever reason, just latched on to Blink. And following everyone. She'd follow the girlfriends. She would take pictures of their cars and stuff.
Oh, my gosh.
They had to hire someone, like a private security kind of person, to kind of like keep tabs on where this lady was, because they'd gotten quite serious. And they had some kind of powder or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was a powder or gel, and they put it on her car door handles and on her door to her house. So you couldn't see it, but it would be on there. So when she would come home or she would drive, she would get this powder on herself, and she would, I think you needed like glasses of some sort to see it, but it would glow. So if you had the glasses, if there was a huge crowd, you'd see this lady, because she would, throughout the day, touch her face, move her hair, so she would glow. Dust chemical thing.
Oh my gosh.
If she came to a show, they'd be able to see her and immediately get her and be like, "You're not coming in." And take her back. I think they eventually went to court and they had a restraining order on her. And Jeez. I don't know what happened after that. I kind of feel like she moved on to someone else or another band.
That's crazy. I know. Sometimes I'll think about that. I'm like, it might be nice to be famous at times, but then on the other side of that, it's like, ugh. Imagine somebody just like fucking hiding in your yard and you peek outside and they're just like staring at you. It's like, oh my gosh. So anyways, back to Atticus. So you were very much running all of it, essentially. I mean, were you doing all the day-to-day? You were main designs, were you down to the shipping and the online site and everything?
Yeah, so I handled most of that. We did have John to do any kind of like book work and marketing stuff. Like he was still kind of over at Planet Earth and audio and helping me with this. So we were able to use his connections, for like a Zoomies for PacSun and for those stores when they would come calling. And that was the crazy thing because Blink had gotten so big, and these PacSun was doing so well with Hurley stuff that when they started wearing Atticus, PacSun was like our first store that wanted to carry it.
That's cool.
The usual route is you go through like skate shops and you work your way up to your a big brand, and our first was PacSun. And at that time, PacSun's orders were, I think it was, the initial order would be 18,000 units, followed with a backup order of 12,000 units, with a backup order of 10,000 units after that of each design.
Holy shit.
And so at one point that summer, or I can't remember what that year it was, we sold more black T-shirts than any other company in the U.S.
Wow.
Because we've used, I can't remember what blank, AAA or something like that. And so just based off what they were producing, they were like, what are you guys doing with all these black T-shirts? Because, we were getting them all.
Wow. I mean, that's really cool. I mean, that was one of the first times that I can recall. I mean, obviously I'm a big Blink fan, so I was following them more than some of the other bands, but I had never really seen a band kind of have their own personal brand on the side that you could almost kind of show your loyalty or fandom through just rocking their gear. So that was really cool. I mean, I still can't think of too many bands I follow or artists I care about who really have their own personal brand that you rock just to kind of, it's almost a part of your character. I mean, when I rock Hi, My Name is Mark, it's just, I feel like it's just, I don't know. I'm just showing I'm such a huge Blink fan, big supporter of Mark and his thing. So it's really cool.
And that's what we liked about Atticus was that you could be a Blink fan, or, we worked with a lot of bands during that time. And you could be a skateboarder or a surfer or whatever. And it didn't really pigeonhole you into anything. It was just like, it's a music brand kind of thing.
Yeah.
Music seems to transcend a lot of sports. And so that was like the cool thing is we would get into skate shops and surf shops with that brand.
Yeah. And you guys were doing really cool stuff. I remember some of the CD compilations, Dragging the Lake. I remember I still see some of those signed posters come up, which are really neat. So, what ends up kind of happening to Atticus? How long did you end up running that? Because I still see people looking for it all the time. It's almost like collector's items at this point. But let us know what ended up happening to it.
I think when Blink went on hiatus the first time, it was really hard because they owned all these companies together. They had like Loserkids, they had Atticus, they had Macbeth, and it was all joint ventures. And so when they weren't really talking at that point, we kind of had to shift gears, and Mark took over kind of being the point person for Atticus, and Tom was the point person for Macbeth. And so they were kind of under the same roof but run differently because we were just dealing with different people at that point. And that went on for a while. And Atticus was always like the bigger of the companies. Had always done the best.
Were you involved with Macbeth? I know you did some shoe designs, but how involved were you with that?
I did the first round of shoes with them. I did like the Elliott and some of the other shoes. I designed those, and then that was fun because I got to go to China. And,
cool.
Go to a factory.
I bet that was wild.
Yeah, that was like getting to do some traveling then for that. But then Macbeth was kind of like Tom's baby.
Yeah.
And then when, like I said, the hiatus happened, they were kind of like, well, we should really split these companies. And then if, kind of almost like a divorce of sorts, like who's getting what in this. And like I said, Mark ended up with Atticus, and we did that for a while. And then I think it just became kind of too much of it being separate with separate companies, but with same owners. And our UK distributor did so well with Atticus. Like it was a whole other beast over there in Europe. Like it wasn't a Blink brand so much over there. It was just this cool music brand.
Oh,
So he offered to buy it, and that's kind of how like they were really able to split, do a true hiatus. Take time off from each other because there wasn't any dealing with each other at that point. They sold Atticus. Everyone got bought out of their whatever they owned. Tom kept Macbeth going for a few years after that, and I think he sold it to Saban, the Mighty Mighty Power Rangers company.
Oh gosh, I didn't know that.
They had just bought Paul Frank clothing line, and then they bought the Macbeth shoe line, and then I don't think they did anything with it. I don't know, like it was kind of a weird thing that happened and then didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I see people. I don't know if I don't know if it's a fake store or there's some site that I think you can still order stuff. And I see people bitch occasionally. They're like, I tried to order a shirt and I got an email back from Ukraine or something, and I haven't received my item in 5 months. And I'm like, I don't know if this is real or if somebody's still running it or bought it overseas and is still running it or what. So, I don't know.
At this point, it may still be owned by Dale, our UK person. He owned it for a while. I worked for him for a few years. I would have been like 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. He wanted to get Atticus going again. And so I had moved up to LA, and we opened up the Atticus store on Melrose.
Okay.
So I did Atticus up there for a few years. And it did all right. We did like shows and stuff in the shop. It was a cool shop to have. But that was right at the recession bubble. So
yeah,
it didn't really take off. And so I was still doing Atticus when Mark approached me in 2012-ish, 2011, I think, actually, about coming on and helping with Hi, My Name is Mark.
Yeah. We're definitely going to get into that. I do want to ask you, how did the hiatus affect you as such a close friend of both of them? Was that weird for you, or did you just speak to them separately and it didn't matter, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I was still in San Diego, so I was just seeing Tom all the time because Mark had already moved up to LA. And so after we had sold Atticus, and Mark really didn't have a reason to be involved down in San Diego. Like he didn't have to come down for meetings or look at new designs or anything like that. So it was weird. It was like choosing, I'm going to live with mom or I'm going to live with dad kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I had stayed in San Diego, so I was doing stuff with Tom. We did do one clothing company after Atticus called Edmund, and that was like a little dinosaur logo.
Okay.
And, the shirts all came with this like blind bag where you got this little piece of the logo, and then if you bought enough shirts, you'd get enough pieces you could put together and it'd make a little dinosaur toy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so like some packages had like the front legs or the back legs or the head or the tail.
Yeah.
Make those. And this is right when like Kid Robot was big and streetwear was really taking off.
Yeah.
We did that for maybe a year, and then they decided just to close that down and then put everything into Macbeth at that point. And that's when I ended up going back to Atticus. So, in one way or another, I've worked with Mark and Tom for over 20 years now.
Wow. Yeah,
doing
that's
different companies and stuff.
That's wild. So at what point were you done with Atticus?
I guess 2011 is when I stopped doing Atticus at all. And I think that's when Atticus kind of wrapped up things in the US, because if I wasn't doing it, I don't think they had anyone else to take over.
Yeah.
So Atticus became kind of a licensee company where different countries could license the name and logo and kind of run it however they wished. So I think that's where people ran into problems with not being able to get a hold of people, or just it was no longer run under our roof.
Was that hard for you? I mean, that seemed like you guys built this. This was your idea to build it up, and then all of a sudden it's just defunct. Was that hard, or at that point were you just kind of ready to wash your hands of it and move on?
I think I was ready. Like I'd done it for so long. I'd done like hundreds of graphics with the dead bird, and I was looking forward to doing something else, like doing something different. And it was at the same point where like the whole emo thing had run its course too, and so here we are with a company with a dead bird, and it was very emo-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So like I remember Mark, wanting to do brighter colors, like to do, what was going on at the time, like, people wearing pink or, anything but black. And then you put a dead bird on it and we're like, oh, this doesn't look right.
So Blink gets back together. I remember, so this is 2009. I remember at the time, even on the Neighborhoods tour, Mark was typically rocking Famous Stars and Straps. So at what point does Mark, I guess he comes directly to you and says, I want to make my own brand. Let's start working on something.
He already had gotten it going. I think he'd gotten it with Chris. Somehow.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Someone else had designed the octopus logo. I can't remember who that was. But I had previously I'd done the Loserkids, the Atticus bird, the Macbeth like M logo. So the octopus is the only one that I hadn't done.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, I know you guys have a little thing about it on your website, and Mark actually answered somebody the other day just saying he kind of liked it, but why the octopus? Do you have the right answer for that?
No, like I assumed it had something to do with his last name being Hoppus and kind of having a similar spelling to octopus.
I could see that.
But I don't think that had anything to do with it. But Mark was really into scuba diving during that time.
Oh.
Like all of his vacations were around going scuba diving.
I didn't know that.
And
That's
so
cool.
I think that, it was just an animal that he probably saw a bunch and really liked. And it's a great logo. Every once in a while, we scuba shop hitting us up, like wanting to buy vinyl stickers.
That's cool. Were there any alternate logos or names for the company that you were aware of? Or when you got brought in, was it already, this is the logo and it's hi, my name is Mark?
The logo and it was the name. And then the name was, I think it's the first thing Mark says on stage every time. I'm not 100% on that, but I think it is. And then it became the podcast that he did with Hi, My Name is Mark.
Yeah.
And so the name already had some traction. Like people already kind of knew it and were familiar with it.
Cool. So then at what point do you get asked to essentially, run this brand?
So that was, like 2011, I was helping out. And we had all of our, like the first initial 4 shirts. That was all through Diglin up at his offices. And so we did that there. I think where it moved from there to, I don't know. I was commuting from San Diego up to Chris's office, which was like a 45-hour drive sometimes. A warehouse, like a third-party warehouse down in San Diego, to move it to that. And then that became easy. I didn't have to like pick and pack. Like those first 4 graphics, every order came in, like me and some of Mark's wife's friends, some of Sky's friends. They volunteered to help. So it was like me and some other moms
having a party
and packing them.
Wow. What was the goal of Hi, My Name is Mark? I mean, was it just Mark wanted his own clothing brand? Does it go back to Atticus where you kind of just want to have your own thing as its own kind of side stream, or do you know?
I think at this point, it is just nice to have something that you wear that's your own. You're not a billboard for anyone else, or you don't feel obligated to wear something else for someone. It's his thing. He doesn't push it on anyone. Like Atticus, we were always getting new bands to wear it, and we felt sometimes bands wore it hoping it would help their chances of getting on a Blink tour. They thought they may not have been that into it, but would wear it just because.
Yeah.
But Hi, My Name is Mark is just Mark's favorite thing. Like it's just something that he gets to pick and choose stuff. Trying not always to be just clothing. Like we do a lot of shirts and stuff, but then we try to figure out, like the enamel pins was like a fun thing to do.
Oh yeah.
Always trying to think of something else out of the box. Like what else could we do that's not a t-shirt?
Yeah.
Which is a fun project.
Yeah.
Oh, get to do collabs with different artists, like the Mike Mitchell one was great. We haven't done anything with Crayola for the brand, but we did the pin with him.
Mm-hmm.
Dabs, we did the pin with them as well. But yeah, they haven't. Any of those relationships haven't turned into shirts. So sometimes they do have artists will have different structured deals where they can't do something with.
Oh,
they can't print a shirt with someone else that doesn't run through their license or something like that. So
gotcha. Yeah, so I want. Yeah, I could see that. I wanted to ask, and it seems like Mark's very involved, but how involved is Mark or Sky or in Hi, My Name is Mark? I mean, are you doing a lot of the designs, or is it mostly third party or whatever? And how involved is Mark in the process of a shirt getting made or an idea getting done?
So I still do a bunch of the designs. For a while there, I did all of them, and then I got kind of burnt.
Yeah.
Come up with so many things, and so I have a couple freelancers that I use. So they help out. Like right now, we're working on some new designs for this summer. But that's like for me, I deal with production. I deal with the website, and it's like getting the dessert to like take some time, sit down and work on a t-shirt graphic.
Yeah.
I still like to do that.
So does Mark have kind of final say in all of this, or does he kind of does he trust you enough at this point, 20 years of working with him to make the calls on these, or how's that work?
I would say 90% of the designs are approved by Mark. He approves 100% of the designs, but like 9 out of 10, he handpicked as like this one, this one, this one. There may be one that myself or Sky will go like, this one's really good. Like, I know you don't love it, but I think we should still do it. And then that one will get in.
Yeah.
But all of our taste is all pretty much the same. I don't design anything that I'm like, I love this, but Mark's going to hate it. It's like,
yeah. Or I would never wear this.
Yeah. If I like something, most likely Mark likes it too. And if Mark brings up an idea, it's usually an idea I like. So it's quite easy to work with.
How long from an idea? Oh, sorry. From an idea to the shirt being available on the website, how long is that, and what is that process like? I'm just curious.
Let's see. I mean, it depends on how busy we are with other projects. Mark had an idea for a like kind of a 70s inspired prismatic sticker. This is like just coming to mind because this is what I'm dealing with right now. So kind of like a 70s, those real colorful stickers have like that shine. I think they're like holographic or prismatic, I think is the name of them. So he had this idea of wanting to do something like that. But then I started working up sketches, send them to him to see if, is this what you're thinking, or is this, or how about if we do a logo like this? He'll like yay or nay them. And then, pretty soon we'll get an approval on it. And the hang up is we're doing a line that we need to get like 10 designs together. So it's, that whole process is probably a few weeks. Once him and I know what we want the line to be, and then I get the freelancers and I get working on it, that's probably like say a month of like getting designs together, getting them cleared by Mark, working out colorways, figuring out what color shirts they would look good on, and then sending all the art to get screen printed. And then screen printers, the one we use, deals with a lot of big clients, so a lot of times we get nudged to the side sometimes. So that process is probably anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. And then down to our warehouse, I have to shoot photo samples of all the product to put up on the website. That's usually just like a week. So I'd say three months.
Okay.
I mean, we could do it quicker if we needed to, but on average, I'd say about 3 months from getting the designs to printing to live up on the store.
Yeah, that's interesting. What is your favorite thing you guys have done with Hi, My Name is Mark? Particular design, shirt, accessory?
Um, hmm. What comes to mind is like the stuff we haven't done yet. There's like ideas that I've had that I just haven't been able to figure out.
That was the second part of my question. Are there any ideas that you love, but they just haven't come to life yet?
We've been wanting to do a toy for so long,
Yeah.
and we've gotten like false starts a couple times. We've gotten someone on board. They've like done a bunch of the work. We've said like, perfect, let's do this, and then just never heard back from them. These are like toy companies too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like that would have been great. So then we have to start over and try to find someone else. We wanted to do a candle at one point.
That'd be cool.
But the candle had to smell like the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland.
Oh, I haven't been there, so I don't know what that smells like, but hopefully it's pleasant.
It does have I hadn't been to Disneyland in forever. And so when I went, I was able okay, all right, this is what Mark is smelling. But then there's a couple candles that do smell like that are like Pirates of the Caribbean candles, not through Disney, but just through like Etsy and stuff. I remember I bought like everyone I could find, and I sent them all to Mark for him to kind of judge like which one was the most authentic.
Oh my gosh!
But then it's just like, wow, like it was kind of like back to the nail polish. It's like, well, what are we doing here? Like,
yeah,
we actually really do probably need a chemist to do this. Like,
yeah,
out of our wheel. But that's always, the candle's still always right there. It's like an idea of like wanting to do that.
Yeah.
See, the playing cards was a really cool one that we did.
Yep.
We did that with the twins, the Buck twins. So we got to, we did the videos with them. We did it, but just getting to hang out with them and seeing them do like sleight of hand stuff in person was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like I'm just thinking about stuff that we haven't done quite yet that we're hoping to try and do at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So I want to talk about the base pens. So everybody just loves these. So I'm curious as to, whose idea was that? Was that Mark's? Was that yours? How long does it take to get those made? And then did you have any idea they would be as popular as they are?
I can't remember if it was my idea or Mark's. So I can't say I can't be 100%. Like that was my idea, but it was just a good idea. Pins were quite popular at the time. So we did the pinky one, and mostly because it has the octopus on it. Because I always try to feel like if we're going to create a product, it should be branded with the logo.
Yeah.
So we did 300 of the pinky, and no idea that was going to go that fast because we had done octopus pins right before that, and they took maybe 2 months to sell through, and we didn't order. And so we're like, all right, well, it's probably going to do about the same as the octopus pins. Like we won't do a ton of them, but it's like a fun staple to have on the site. And they sold out within minutes that first time.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, I did not see that coming. And so then we bumped it up to 400. And I think Crayola was the next pin in line.
Yep.
So I had did up the artwork. It was all vector base. For those that do graphic design will know what vector base means. And I sent it to him, and he's like, no way. And I'm like, come on, vector is getting it close enough. Basically, he's a fine artist, so he's got like so many colors.
Yeah.
And normally for an enamel pin, you have to block it out to where it's like, these are the 8 colors or 12 colors we're using. You can't blend colors together and stuff. You have to really cut out each color, and it has to live on it. To be filled in with the enamel. And he's like, you got to figure out a better way to do it because he's like, I'm not going to be able to sign off on it so it doesn't look exactly like my guitar, like the graphic he did. And so I had the idea I had seen cufflinks where they put like a picture inside the cufflink underneath like an enamel or a epoxy. So I knew it was possible. I think that's why there was such a huge gap between pins, between the pinky and the next one. So it took a while to find someone that could do that pin the way we wanted it. And they'd send it back to us. It wouldn't look quite right. You don't know how the picture's gonna look like after they fill it in over the top. Sometimes it becomes darker. Sometimes it just gets discolored. So getting it good enough for Crayola was a process.
Yeah.
In the end, he was like, "All right, it looks great." And so we then had that process down to do the, terminal radness, to do the Dapsmila one. Like, we knew how to do this kind of thing. For the production of it, again, it probably takes me a few days or so, maybe a week to this is amongst me doing other things, to work on a guitar pin to get it to where I think it looks good. I'll send just the imagery from my end to the artist to be like, "This is okay to you. You get final say," and they'll be like, "Okay, it looks good enough to send to a factory to get a test done." So they'll send us a test sample, like, "What do you think?" And then I'll, if it looks good, I'll bring it right over to the artist. If not, I'll send it back and be like, "This doesn't cut it." The Dapsmila one, the factory skipped that step. Like, they'd sent me the sample. I looked at it, I'm like, "Oh, there's no way this is going to be good enough." And I talked to Dapsmila, and the blue wasn't right, so everything was quite off from there. And I went to the factory. I'm like, "Hey, we got to redo the blue. This isn't good." And he's like, "Oh, we already printed them."
Oh shit.
So they sent me 400 Dapsmila pins in the wrong color. that in my garage for so long.
Wow.
And I just I don't even know what you're supposed to do with stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's not like a T-shirt where you can donate it to somewhere where it can get worn.
Yeah.
By, a hurricane, relief fund or something like that, where you can send stuff that's still wearable and still fine.
Yeah.
The little enamel pin that no one really knows about that's in the wrong color. So
man, I think if you threw them up on "Hi, my name is Mark" and all proceeds went to the Children's Hospital LA, I think they'd sell out in 2 minutes. It's a factory misprint, super rare.
Yeah, but then again, it wouldn't have been approved by the artist, and so therefore,
that's true.
Yeah, that's they're actually one of the charities that we're trying to do something with right now. We had something in store that I'm not supposed to talk about, I guess, yet, right before the stay-at-home thing kicked in.
Yeah.
But we were going to do something with the Children's Hospital of LA. So that'll be coming at some point.
Yeah. Mark's been doing some Twitch streams. I don't know if you've seen any, but he's been playing Animal Crossing with Jack and raising money for the Children's Hospital of LA. They raised almost $2,500 on the first couple streams they did, and Mark matched that, which is really cool. I'm all about giving back. I'm trying to find a way to kind of rally, Blink Online and some hardcore Blink fans to kind of make a difference. So if there's anything that we can help with or I can help with, feel free to let me know. Mm-hmm. I did want to ask you, so you've said you had kind of no idea they'd be so popular. I guess these can continue almost indefinitely as long as Mark keeps having new bases, or do you see an end in sight?
Every once in a while, I'll post on one of the Facebook groups, just talking to really hardcore fans, do you still want to collect these? Have you hit the wall with collecting these little guitar pins? Do you, does it feel like a money grab? Is this, because we could go back through all the bases that Mark has ever done and have endless pins to do.
Yeah.
Or is enough is enough? Do we just do them, just do the big ones and just do them sporadically here and there? Is kind of where we're at. When I have posted that before, most of the responses are the guitar that they want us to do. No one said stop doing these, no one wants these anymore. It's more you should do this one, you should do the Groundskeeper Willie bass, you should do this bass and stuff like that.
Yeah,
a lot of requests to do Pinky again, but then that would kind of defeat the purpose of collecting. He wouldn't feel a sense of urgency to buy it the day it comes out if he knew that we were just going to reprint it in a few months anyhow.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm very much in that camp.
Yeah, I like seeing people trading, trying to get pins that they want, and kind of horse trading different stuff to try to get a pin. it's kind of the point. That reminds me of the time, doing like Kid Robot type stuff where that's how you got Kid Robots. If they were sold out, try and trade. You'd get one that you didn't want or already had, and you'd have to trade it with someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. I have a full set, and Pinky is by far like the most sought after. If you want one these days, for one, not too many people will give them up. But if you have to buy it, it's going to cost you 75 to $100 or a pretty good trade. So it's cool. I'm a hardcore Blink collector, and hi, my name is Mark. I try to get everything you guys put up. So I just love that kind of stuff. I wanted to get your thoughts on kind of collectors as a whole. I mean, is it neat? Seems like it is to you to see people trading and almost like a little collector community of this stuff. How neat is that from your perspective?
I think it's cool. Like Chris, I know in the podcast with you touched on it. Like, the Blink crowd has a very great like following to where people collect things and trade and like the posters, and he sees that with like Pearl Jam is like another band that can get away doing stuff like that. You don't see many other bands, or maybe you do. Maybe I'm not in those worlds.
Yeah,
in the Blink world, to that you see fans collecting and trading, and kids that are like collect everything, and then one day they decide I'm only going to collect pre 1H2 stuff, and then sell off collecting to someone else. I tried to help some kids. If I had stuff, I'd let stuff go, because I kind of go through the thought process of like, there's a flood, there's a fire, what stuff am I going to grab? I'm not going to be digging through my garage looking for, some Blink stickers or an old T-shirt or anything like that. So I'd rather those stuff go to fans that are going to like, frame it or hang it up, or it's going to really mean something to them. Whereas to me, it was just something that was in the garage.
Yeah, I've thought about that before. If my house caught on fire, I think I would grab my signed "Take Off Your Pants and Jacket" vinyl. Okay. It's so hard. I'm a big Blink autograph collector, and I've documented the band's autographs over the years. I try to help people make sure they get authentic signatures instead of all the fake crap that's out there. And it's crazy how rare Blink signed stuff is, especially all three on one item. So I think it's either "Take Off Your Pants and Jacket" or my Plus 44 signed vinyl. I'm grabbing one of those and dipping out the front door.
Did you see those Dragging the Lake covers? It was like a 12-inch, like just a printout, not a printout, but like a print of the Dragging the Lake. I think it was like the red.
Yeah.
cover.
I don't have one of those, but I've seen several of them. And what's always funny to me is Tom signed those so crazy. Like some he would draw Tom like out of dicks, or just like he would draw the craziest shit. And then what's interesting to me is Mark had changed his autograph at that time. So what's cool about those is his autograph is vastly different on those. But no, I've kept my eye out for those. I never see them. How many of those were made?
I had all those. Like I ended up selling those or giving those away to different people. Just because again, it was just like, it's just sitting in here. Like, one day I'm going to go and look for them. They're going to be like water damaged, and then it's just going to be trash. So it's better to get them out there. But I thought those were always so funny because it looks like nothing Tom's ever signed before for the most part.
Yeah, everyone I find of those is completely different. It's pretty crazy. Okay, I got a couple more things, almost rapid fire, and then we'll get you out of here. I really appreciate your time. I know we've gone on a while. So, favorite Blink-182 song?
It's always the newer stuff, like just listening to the Happy Days song. I'm like, this is a great song. So I'll listen to a new song for a while. Yeah. And I move on from there, kind of thing. I come at Blink, I guess, a little differently. It wasn't like I was a fan that got a job working with them. I grew up being friends with them. And then for me, this is like about doing design and stuff. Like that's where I get about. So I don't have like really, like I couldn't tell you what songs were on what albums. I have memories of going to different like video shoots and stuff like that. Those are things that are more like, that I would gravitate toward. If someone's like, what's your favorite Blink song? I'm like, well, I don't know about the song, but going to this video shoot, or like the silly one where they made fun of the boy band. We were going to the beach shoot for that.
Yeah.
When they had the little people dressed up as the as Blink. I
Yep.
was there for that video shoot, and a bunch of different ones and stuff. So those are the things that
Yeah.
I think I would say are more my favorite memories or than anything else.
Do you have a favorite album then? Probably not. Or is there a certain one that maybe takes you back to a great time in life that you really like reminiscing on? Or
Well, I think Enema of the State more because I was in this. We were just doing Atticus and doing Loserkids for the first time, and I was just back in San Diego after living in Utah. So I'd spend most of my time at the studio with them while they were recording that.
wow.
They'd be in the studio, and I would be sitting with Jerry Finn, and just getting to see that process, like,
Wow.
and that was like a fun time, like getting Mexican takeout and being in the studio and joking around till like all hours.
Yeah, I bet. That's really cool. So favorite memory of all your years working with Blink, was there a particular memory that comes to mind, or tour or show? Or I mean, it's got to be so cool to have your friends just make it and you're there.
Yeah, I see like the Jerry Finn, like being there for that album, because I got to see so much of it. Because usually I'm busy or had been busy with different jobs and stuff, and that time I was working for them, so I could just stay at the studio the whole time for like 8 hours or however long they were there, get a ride with them, get a ride back home with them.
Yeah.
So that was probably a great time because I got to see them working on an album, and then afterwards getting to see that album go crazy,
just blow up.
Yeah, I remember going to the MTV Beach House with them when they were on there for that, getting to like meet Britney Spears and Mandy Moore during those years.
That picture still comes up sometimes. There's a picture I always see of Travis with Britney Spears that cracks me up, and then there's an old one of Mark with Beyonce that comes up occasionally. That's funny.
Yeah.
Do you have any do you ever sit and reflect thoughts on this looking back now, 20, 25 years later, or no?
Yeah, I mean, working for them for 20 years, you can imagine like all that it's gone on during those years. Like, I met my wife on a trip to Barcelona for Atticus.
Wow.
Like I would never have met her if it wasn't, working for Blink and for the guys.
That's crazy, man.
Traveling all the places I've gone to because of like the different companies we've done. And then just being able to have like this kind of lifestyle where like I've never had to wear like a suit for a job or anything like that. Like I shorts 90% of the time and a t-shirt and a hat, and like I wouldn't even know how to do a real job kind of thing.
That's crazy, man. Like if you think about that, your family, kids, all that you can somehow trace back in the world to a couple guys telling dick jokes on stage in 98 and 99.
Yeah. Like
that's wild.
Kudos to them for always wanting to do companies with friends and like wanting to go like have a company where you go there and it's like people you like and people you're helping and stuff. Is like it's what I would do if I'd won the lottery. I would do something similar. I would start a company and see like who can I help out, like which one of my friends would be fun to work with every day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that seems so cool. Is there anything you would want to say to either Blink fans or Hi, My Name is Mark fans and supporters?
I don't know. I feel like things really got harsh this last couple of years with like the comments and stuff. And I know that is what it is. Like,
yeah,
you see comics of like, this is the worst album ever. And then like, we read that, like Mark has to read that. We all have to read that stuff. And it's like, oh, that sucks. Like,
yeah, I know. People are getting shitty on it. Like, just stop with the Tom questions. It's been 5 years, and it's like people just flood his comments, flood his streams, and I'm like, and Mr. T-shirt, he said the reason he doesn't post much, Mr. T-shirt, and tries not to stay on Instagram is that stuff hurts him. And even me, just starting a podcast, a couple people have been like, that sucks, and I'm just like, dude, that hurts. Like I was thinking about that 2 days later. Like fuck that. I couldn't imagine my entire tons of comments every day talking about that. But it's just, it just drives me nuts.
And for the most part, like they all backpedal. Like they're all like, well, I never really listened to it. I didn't really see it or anything like that. And like, I gave it a chance, and you're right, it's great. But
Yeah,
that's always
yeah,
hard. But that goes hand in hand with any band or anything. Music's such a weird thing for that. Like it's more of an emotional connection than you have with what I do with like graphics and stuff. Like someone could be like,
yeah,
that graphics, I'd be like, it's maybe not to your taste, but
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Music, people are, they have such like times in their lives that are tied to those songs and those albums,
yeah.
and kind of get why they do get so emotionally vested in what the band is doing and stuff, and how like the knee-jerk reaction to say this isn't good or this isn't as good as the last album or the album for that. I mean, I even see stuff, and I think they're just trolling, where they're like, the band. I stopped following the band once Scott left.
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of,
I know. I mean, it seems like every Blink album, literally, the whoever was hardcores of the album before, there's people who fall off with each album. When they made Enema of the State, they were sellouts, way too polished, way too pop. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's the most fucking iconic pop punk album of all time. Like, give them a little break here. It's all right.
yeah,
And the thing I don't get is like, if you don't like it, just don't listen to it. Don't go to the concerts. It's okay,
yeah,
but it's hard. I mean, it's like I listen to other bands like Muse. I don't like the new Green Day album. I'm not going to go bitch on their comments about it or like harass
yeah,
Billy about it. It's whatever. Life's too short, and I've had such a great time the past 5 years with the California shows and tours, and I just don't see why anybody could be mad at people for enjoying that. That's the part that pisses me off.
yeah.
Is like they're mad at me, like I'm crazy for liking it or something. It's like, whatever. It's all right. Okay, last two things. Any advice for upcoming, brand managers, designers, artists? Anything you would say to them?
I mean, it's the same as anything. Like, you got to put in your 10,000 hours. You got to really work at it. You can't like, I made one design and no one liked it, I quit. Like, you really
Yeah,
have to, put everything you have into it and like not give up and really like, make a go of it. Like, that's the thing with designs. And I guess it's kind of like writing music. Like, it's personal. You know how much time it took you to do this design and to work on this and get it, put out there into the world, and have people like, just crap on it after it's out there. It does suck.
yeah,
For graphic design, like, I mean, I've done hundreds and hundreds of graphics between all the companies over the 20 years. And so you do get a bit numb to it. You do, like, you can shake it off. It's not a big deal. And someone's like, oh, these all suck and stuff. You're just like, wow.
yeah. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And I have friends that are graphic designers, and we'll talk about other graphic design and be like, this is good, this is bad. But I feel like justified, since that's something that I do, that I can talk about stuff one way. It's people that chime in that don't play guitar, don't know how to write a song, and say like, the song's all wrong, the chord progression, this and that. It's like,
Yeah,
where's your band? Oh, I don't have a band. Where's your guitar? I don't own a guitar. But they
yeah.
know everything.
Yeah, my favorite are the ones who complain about like the mixing or the producing and stuff like that. It's like, what the fuck do you know about mixing drums or a snare? Or it's just like, Jesus Christ. But it is what it is. I mean, I guess any band, any successful people are gonna have haters or people mouthing off in the comments. It comes with the territory. All right, last thing. So as I said, I'm a big Blink collector. Typically, I found a long time ago, you got to kind of have a particular thing you're collecting. You can't go too crazy. I'm not one of those ones that just tries to get everything, because it's just impossible. The favorite piece of memorabilia, whether it's Blink, Mark, Hi, My Name is Mark, Plus 44, Simple Creatures, that you own.
I have a Blink poster that the guys have all signed, that was done by Kozik. I have that I still need to frame. Really like that. Siglin T-shirt. He gave me that one. Laminates usually. I keep all the laminates from all the tours that I've gone on. So I have
cool.
those. Trying to think. I have one of the Blink. Can't remember what we called it, like Asian princess or goddess. The little what do you call it? Is it Magna? Or is it Japanese art?
Oh, I'm not familiar with that one.
It's that little white sticker with the blue. It just says Blink on it. It's got the little girl.
Oh, yeah. The original Blink, one of the most original Blink stickers, maybe the first one. He has it on his base.
Yeah, so I had a bunch of those. I used to put them on all of my stuff. Like I had hundreds of those at one point. Like,
wow.
Gave me like a stack of them, when they made them.
Yeah.
And then, 20, I guess more than that, 30 years, 40 years later, almost like, maybe not 40 years, 30 years close. I have just two. I've sold some, I've given some away kind of thing. Yeah. But that's just because I know what it means to other people.
Yeah.
So that's a cherished thing to have. And such a rare thing to have.
It always scares me buying the OG stickers because I feel like they're so easy to reproduce.
Yeah, I don't know what you could look at because they would be, almost everyone would be different, depending on how they were doing them at Kinko's kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mark and I were talking about screen printing. Like they used to screen print all the old Blink shirts. So like Mark's mom would help with those and stuff too. Like,
yeah, even the old Buddha tapes. Like I would love one of the old school original Buddha tapes, but it just scares me to death finding one because they just color copied those at Kinko's and just folded them up in the living room and slapped it together. So it seems like it'd be easy to kind of forge.
Yeah, I don't know how you would protect yourself on that. The letter, whatever that was called, that went in there. I guess that could, even that's reproducible, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. So those are your favorite pieces. Anything else come to mind, or is that it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's really, I'm looking around
like you keep them in the back. Yeah. I mean, do you even have a Blink shelf or anything, or is it just all stored away in your garage?
No, I have one Tupperware in the garage with just random stuff like skateboarding stuff that I've kept, and there's there's Blink stuff in there as well.
Yeah,
but it's not a big Tupperware by any means. It's just a few things that I've for some reason didn't get rid of, and now I just keep them.
Yeah, you guys have done some pretty cool skateboard decks. I've seen those, and you guys are always doing cool shit. I drink out of your coffee mug all the time. I like the thermos. I mean, it's really cool. Yeah. So I really appreciate you taking the time to hop on. This has been so rad for me. So really appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Cool. All right, everybody. That is Dylan Anderson. Everybody stay safe. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. Thanks.